Hello and welcome. For World Cancer Day 2025, we're highlighting the work of Cancer Voices SA. Cancer Voices South Australia, based in Adelaide. My name's Julie McCrossan, and in 2013, I was treated for throat cancer. It's called oropharyngeal cancer, and I was treated with radiation therapy and chemotherapy. And it's my pleasure to welcome Karen Van Gorp and also Shona Edwards. Welcome to you both. Happy World Cancer Day, and because we're celebrating progress in cancer care. Karen, just tell us about your cancer and treatment and what you see as the core purpose of Cancer Voices SA.
My diagnosis was the same. We share an anniversary. My diagnosis was 2013. I had stage 4 melanoma, which had gone through to my bones and many parts of my body. And it's a cutaneous melanoma. There are a couple of other types of melanoma, but it is Australia's cancer. We have the greatest incidence of melanoma in the world.
And you were treated with?
I was treated with immunotherapy. I was actually managed to find a clinical trial because at the time there was no treatment for melanoma. And I found a clinical trial with the new and was able to access the new immunotherapies. And I'm a super responder. So I was incredibly lucky. And as a result, I took up advocacy and support of other people who are suffering with melanoma and generally cancer as well.
So I might come to you, Shona, and hear your cancer, and then we'll turn to Cancer Voices SA. Welcome.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with a meningioma when I was 23, and that sits at the base of my spine. So it's caused a incomplete spinal cord injury as the major result of my cancer. And I got treatment, radiotherapy. I traveled to Prague in the Czech Republic for proton beam radiation therapy, which effectively slowed the growth for several years.
And Shona, how would you sum up the fundamental purpose of Cancer Voices SA? What is it in a nutshell?
What Cancer Voices South Australia is really striving to promote is partnership between people with an experience of cancer, whether that's as a patient themselves or as their family and carer, and the researchers and clinicians who design and deliver the care that we need.
And can I just go straight to an example of partnership, and that's the partnership with the University of Adelaide Medical School. Can you talk about the survivors as teachers and what you think you're achieving with that activity?
So Survivors as Teachers is our flagship program. It's been running for over 10 years now. And that is, we bring a person with an experience of cancer to the third year medical students in a series of tutorials across the third year. So the reason we do so is the third year is the first time they have clinical placements. So first time they start to be around patients in their study. So by sitting down with us for a 2-hour tutorial, a cancer patient or carer gets to tell their story in however they want to tell it and give the lessons to the students who are the future doctors that they think they would benefit from their story. It's a really moving experience to be a part of these tutorials, and there's benefits to both sides of the participation.
This Survivors as Teachers has been going for a number of years. I've spoken at it myself. How would you sum up the benefits to the speaker, whether they're a person who's had cancer or family carer, and to the medical students? What are an example of a benefit for each?
I think the main benefit is that this is not a clinical setting. So the students have none of their lecturers, none of their supervisors are in the room with us, so we can really talk as people. And I think for the students, it's their first chance to really ask in-depth questions about the whole of a cancer experience, not necessarily the only time when we're in contact with doctors in the hospital. So the students get a breadth of knowledge. They get a chance to ask questions. And for the speaker, it's really important as a fulfilling exercise. I've seen speakers who find a lot of meaning in taking their experiences, whether that's good or bad, and putting it to use by telling the students what went wrong, what went really well, and what they hope for the future of our care.
And I'd like to thank the University of Adelaide Medical School for the support for this program. They come and take the role at the beginning, but then they leave us alone with the patients. And it's just a remarkable experience. Karen, if I can come to you, I think a key achievement of Cancer Voices South Australia for you is the respect you've achieved with researchers. And there is a walk and talk with researchers. Can you just tell us about that and why you think it illustrates the great connection you have with researchers?
So part of Cancer Voices South Australia, when it first started in 2007, was a focus on exercise and living well, and that started with cycling. And we then went on to add a walking component because not everyone can ride a bike, and that then encouraged researchers to come and join us. And we have this very relaxed, so we've done it both as walking in Belair National Park and more recently walking in the city, meeting at the researchers' premises on North Terrace and going for a walk and then possibly having a coffee or having a coffee on a bad or a hot day and just having those conversations. So where we say, we think this is missing and this is my experience, or what are we doing in these areas? And so with the idea that some of these might spark new collaborations, and certainly Cancer Voices SA has from its inception been recognised for collaboration with researchers. And there is a national Consumers in Research program as well. So it's either whether you are an associate investigator in a piece of research, or you have sparked ideas. But that's what our role is.
There's a couple of examples if we could mention. One where, as a patient voice at the grassroots level, you encouraged a clinical trial to keep taking as many blood tests as possible from the patients in the trial. And the researchers were a bit surprised, I think you encouraged that. But why did you support the taking of those additional blood tests?
So that was really interesting. We had a researcher who was going through their protocol with us, and we were following it along, and we pointed out, well, why aren't you taking bloods at this particular point? Because don't you need the evidence? And they said, oh, yes, we'd like to, but we've been told that consumers or patients don't want to be poked and prodded all the time. And I said, we've already put a hand up for this program. The people who are in it want it to succeed. If there is blood or biopsies that need to be taken to make the study successful, then absolutely we are prepared to do it. Really, our position is more, we don't want to do it unless it's needed. And to be very mindful, which they had been mindful of that. So it was lovely that they were listening to us.
Another example was advocacy around breast cancer screening and scans if a person has a port. If you could just quickly say what a port is and then what you achieved with that advocacy.
So a port is a portacast. So people who are receiving treatment that would normally be IV treatment. This is an alternative way to give those treatments. It's usually put just above the breast, and then you're able to receive the treatment without having your veins in your arms, which you might need later on, impacted. And a communication was sent out by Breast Screening SA to say that they couldn't appropriately or properly screen those people who had a portacath. Unfortunately, the system didn't support them having that screening in any other way, in a cost in an affordable manner. And that was the big problem was, well, you haven't considered what's going to happen to these people after you said you can't do that. So we talked it through, we wrote to them, we sat down, we had several meetings with them, and they were able to work out a way that people could continue to have scans, their breast screening, even if they did have the port or any other device.
And I should say this is some time ago, but it was a great example of advocacy achieving a very practical result. Shona Edwards, your treatment with proton therapy to the cancer on the base of your spine led to significant disability. And I think you'd like to raise the question of advocacy for the relationship between having cancer treatment and disability support. What's the key message you want to communicate on World Cancer Day?
Like I said, for me, disability has been a major experience for my cancer treatment. And that's true also of a lot of the other young youth patients who I've met along the way. And really, the intersection of disability care and cancer care is a messy one. They're two different health systems functionally. But as people, we are complicated. We move through both of those systems. So my sort of key issue that I've taken up and that Cancer Voices SA is working on is to make sure that people who have disabilities get access to the cancer care that they need. And equally in the other direction, people with cancer deserve referral to the disability services that they need in an efficient and effective manner. So it can be hard to move through these systems. It's possible that we can work towards this. We just need to increase the awareness of the issues when you're moving between systems like this.
And Shona, just to make it clear for those watching us today, you didn't have a disability before your treatment. Can you explain what happened as a side effect of your treatment?
It's two very different experiences, but the community is very diverse, so we all work together to make sure we all get the access we need. But you definitely have people who've had disability experiences through majority or all of their life, who then come to the cancer world. And then you've got people who have disability as a consequence of their cancer. For me, that's impacted quite a few functions, primarily my mobility. I use a walking stick. I use a wheelchair when I need to, pressure cushions, that kind of thing. And really for me, I needed quite a few services that weren't available long-term in the cancer system. So one of those, for an example, would be exercise physiotherapy. I took part in what was available in the public system. You've got short-term rehab programs. For me, that was a 6-week program. Excellent, very helpful post-treatment. However, I need physiotherapy at least once a week for the rest of my life to make sure I'm maintaining my condition. So for me, that necessitated applying for the National Disability Insurance Scheme, which is the disability program. And it was quite difficult to transition from cancer care into the NDIS.
Well, NDIS, National Disability Insurance Scheme for people internationally, is an Australian initiative that provides certain people with disabilities with support. And I think, Shona, an individual clinician took it upon themselves to link you into that system, which you said spoke a different language. It had a different vocabulary. We don't have time to go into it now, but let's, on World Cancer Day, celebrate the clinician who took the initiative to help the individual, because while we're about system change, sometimes individuals can make a difference. Look, just finally, I'll come to you, Karen, and then back to you, Shona. One or two lessons you've learned from as an advocate to share with others who are trying on World Cancer Day to improve cancer care. One or two from you, Karen?
The lessons that I've learned is that to be confident that you're an expert in what your experience has been. And therefore, you have a right to be in the room, and you are needed in the room to be able to be the voice for many people who can't do that, who can't speak for themselves, who've had terrible experiences, and that is your role. So that should give you the confidence to be able to speak out.
And can I say, we should recognise that you were in the room at the beginning of the development of the Australian Cancer Plan, our national plan. One of only a couple of patients or people who'd had cancer in the room. So well done you.
Thank you. No, that was magnificent. Cancer Voices was invited. We were the only actual consumers in the room. Others were consumer organisations, and we have been involved in the Australian Cancer Plan in one way or another ever since. And that, of course, led into Shona and I being involved in the South Australian Cancer Plan as well. So we have been the voices for cancer patients and cancer consumers throughout.
Fantastic. And Shona, 2 or 3 lessons from you to share with others, particularly young people who are needing to advocate for life.
One of the greatest things I've learned is that you can't do this kind of work alone. It's really important work. It's really fulfilling work, but it's hard when it does come from your lived experience. And some of those feelings around the things that went well, the things that could have gone better, can be complicated feelings as you do the work. And I also think there's safety in numbers to do this with other people. So Cancer Voices, South Australia, we're always working as a team. We're never isolated. So I think my advice to someone looking to get into advocacy is that you need to find your team and keep asking for support when you need it, giving support to the other people around you, and you can really take it anywhere from there.
And you feel that helping others gives meaning to what you've been through.
I think when we've had a difficult experience, even when it has positive outcomes, it's still a really difficult experience. It can be difficult to talk about those things, but having talked about it can also have a sort of cathartic effect. You're putting your experiences to use, and you can feel like it had at least some purpose if it can contribute to learning to improve the care that we and others get. So it's sort of passing on an improved system to the person who'll come after us.
Exactly. Look, Karen, Shona, Cancer Voices South Australia, a big thank you, and thank you to everyone who's watching us. And I'm going to say Happy World Cancer Day 2025 because we're working together to improve the system. This is deaf sign clapping. Would you like to do it too? Thank you very much. Thank you.